In this part of the video, we are going to understand how does the Hibernate can be as a test process we can work. Now in this at Hibernate, the majorly there are two files which we need to work. One is called your the configurations and second one is your mapping file. First we will create what is the class we need to uh, uh, work on the Java beans, right? So now what I'll do is I'll just try to get a Java bean. So I'm going to create a class name called student. So in this particular student I'll just have an option like I will create some of the attributes. Next I will create USN name marks. So this is my attributes which we have created. Now I am going to create getters and setter methods for all this particular stuff, and as well as I needed to generate I need to create an new toString object with using all this particular method. So this is what I have done. Now this becomes my table format which I am going to create it. So this is my Java bean class. So it will act as an entity too for me. It will act as an entity to me. Now we are going to create a configuration file. So first we will start creating a configuration. So how do we create a configuration file is I need to create two XML files which is actually Hibernate .cfg.xml. It is not necessary that it should look like the same way only. There is no hard and fast rule that you have to create with the same name. So what is the part which I am going to use is this is my standard configurations which is actually present, and as well as I have shared it for you to work on the database. So now there is a driver. See, this is what my SQL driver which it is gonna connect. So for a particular Hibernate configuration, this is my XML file. In this particular XML file, we are having a tag called Hibernate configuration. Inside that, we are having a session factory configuration details. So in session factory, you are having so many different properties. In that property, one is called your driver class, password, URL, username, pool size. Pool size means show the query which has been converted from an object base which is HQL to SQL. So you need to show me the query, so it will show the query how it has got converted. So with respect to that, there is a mapping resource file which we need to define it, because we are having one of the table which is actually mapping to my class. So we need to create a mapping resource file which is called as student map hbm.xml file. So we are going to create a new XML file in here. So this is an student map.hbm.xml file. So what are the things we can add to it? First we will understand what are the different attributes which is actually present inside that particular class. So now we need to have Hibernate mapping, right? So this is an Hibernate mapping. So for this particular Hibernate mapping, I need a doc type, which is actually a document type which is needed for my validation of an XML file. So in this Hibernate mapping, we are going to have a specific class. So suppose I'm having a class. Class means what? I am mapping my class with the table. So what is my class name? So this is what the class name. So the class name is student. This is my class name. Next, what is the next thing which you can do it? We can actually give another set of attribute which is called table. So table, it should map with respect to student. Now this is what the process for mapping my table, right? Name and table has been done. Then afterwards, this is my class which has been defined. Now I am going to define each and every attribute. How does it exactly connects? Now I am creating ID. So this is my primary key. I will map to a particular column. So now I need to tell that to which column in that particular table it is gonna map. Then afterwards I will tell what type of exactly is that it is gonna map. So it is gonna tell, I am going to tell that it is an int type. So inside this I'm gonna tell what kind of generator class we are going to use. So generator is native. Native means you are going to use auto generator. So auto generator to generate the specific IDs whenever we try to create any kind of or insert any rows onto it. So it is called auto increment. It is equivalent to writing auto increment. Next I am gonna map each and everything. So now I will start mapping for the property. So property name, I will just map his address. So for this particular address, I am going to tell what is the column I am going to use. I will tell this the address, and I am going to tell that what is the type of the what is a property which is going to define. So like that we are going to map for each and everything. So here I will tell it is USN. Next again we will go with the next process which is called the USN. Next we will have the address name. Please understand, the name is your variable name, column name is your table column name. So now we are actually mapping the class with the column name. So we are going to have USN name, address, and next total marks. So you can have your total marks. So what is the type we are going to define? It is of int type. So make sure that you are not using capital S there. So it's a type of the variable which you are going to use it. So this is a mapping file which is an Hibernate mapping file for one table. Hibernate mapping file for one table. Like that I can create n number of classes. Okay, I can have n number of classes in here, n number of classes which actually connects to the database. So I can map each and every class to a particular Hibernate mapping. Now in this particular mapping, now this mapping I have to show it in Hibernate. So whenever the session factory is getting created, now in this we are having lot of properties which has been shown, and as well as you are going to tell that mapping resource. Mapping resource means what? It is an XML file which is having the resources which you need to connect it to the database with respect to the persistence. So this is how the total process is. This is your first step. This is your first step for doing the mapping configuration. You need to create the Bing class, Java Bing class. Based on that, you are going to do an Hibernate configurations on a particular Bing class. You are going to tell that what is the mapping file you are going to have. Next, we will try to understand how do I access the whole particular configurations which have been done. Now what I will do is we are going to use an student underscore name. I am going to give a class name as student underscore name, and we are going to create a particular main method. So in this we will try to understand that what will be the first process to be started with so what is the first process? First we need to do a configurations, right? So we need to do a configurations. This is our first step, or a configuration object, right? Configuration, that's equal to so we are going to do a configuration, or we are going to take the configurations object from an Hibernate. Okay, so where is that? We have to choose properly that what is the configurations we are going to use it. Okay, now it is a configuration file which is actually related to SQL and both the particular process. Now we are going to see if that Hibernate core common annotations have been loaded. Yes, it has been loaded. Annotations is there. Okay, Hibernate common annotations are there. Hibernate has not loaded the Hibernate process, so we will get back. I think the Hibernate core is having some kind of problem every time we need to get an Hibernate core. Now what I will do is I'll just get the Hibernate core latest from the Maven dependencies. Now I will go to Maven repository. So in this I'll search for Hibernate core. So we are having Hibernate core, which is very new to it. Next in that I'll take the latest one. I'll just copy it. Next, after I copy that, I'll just paste it back. If it works, or if it doesn't work, then you can do this particular process, because I need all the Hibernate core components to be added to it. Now I hope so I will be getting an particular import. So configuration for G Hibernate configurations is equal to new configuration okay, dot. So we are going to use the configurations object, right? So I'm gonna tell you can build a session factory. So that gives me a session factory. So I don't need a session factory to be created now. So what I will do, I need a configuration. So in this particular configuration, I will send hibernate.cfg.xml. This is most important to always have the configuration. So in this new configuration, we are going to ask for the configuration. So here I am going to put the configuration details. So when we are going to create a configuration, now I got my configuration loaded onto my object. Next is I need a second step, which is called as session factory. So in a session factory, it is like org object. So SFG. So session factory I'm going to use. In this config dot, I will tell build the session factory. Now what is happening is I'm going to get the whole configurations loaded into my object, which is called as SFG. So this session factory will actually give me a total process of accessing the complete configurations and then Hibernate process into it. Now how do I access and work on it? So in this particular method, what I will do is, we are going to have certain methods which you are going to use it for void insert. So in a particular insert, I will tell ID, name, address, USN, next total marks. So these are all the particular method will be used. So here in insert, I need to tell int of ID, string of name, string of address, next string of USN, int of total marks. So this is how we actually define a particular method. Now in this, what I will do is, I am going to create a session of s is equal to, now why I am creating, now we are going to have the physical configuration. So I will tell get create a session, right? Now as soon as we create a session, now I got my session from an session factory. Now s dot, I need to create, I can do begin transaction or anything as such I can do, or what we can do is, we can write some queries which is actually doing an insertion. So now what I will do, I will use an object to insert. I need to create a bean. So here I am not going to write any query to insert the details. So I am going to create a bean, student is equal to student, created. We will take it. I think it is giving me error because session and st is both same. St dot set id. So set id of id. So like that, st dot set address of address. St dot set now we have created an object which is actually can be sent to a particular query. Now s dot, we have a session which has been created. Now we can use s dot, I am going to save it into a persistent object which is called st. Now what is this happening is, I am able to save in a particular query format. So it is going to create a query and it is going to save. So after saving, I just want to make it for the particular thing. So transaction s dot begin transaction. So this is what I will give a particular process to transaction to start. I will do t dot commit. Now what is this total process it will do is, after you have an object which is persistent inside this particular Java object, inserting a particular table, it is so easy that you don't need to write the specific queries to it. It will automatically go for the persistence storage, right? Now we can do a public what do you say, getting all the objects from the what do you say, from the database. So we are going to use a list and we are going to write a query for it. First we will understand how to write a query for it. We will write one method one by one. Okay, now here, so in this particular thing, I'll just create for my own purpose, student underscore name main. So sm is equal to new student main. Now for an just understanding purpose, what I will do is sm dot insert. So I'm going to put some values to it. So in here I will give some name which is xyz. Next we are going to create an address. So it is let us see if it is working fine with it. If it works fine. Now as soon as I start running, what does it do is it will do two process. One is called I have written for update. Okay, I have put for the update. What is that update means? No current session context configured, or maybe the session factory implementation. And, what do you say? Okay, fine, you are having 12. Get current session. Oh, sorry, create session. Okay, open session. Sorry. So this is what the method which I need to create. So session, open session, not the. Now I need to create, open the session, and afterwards we are going to use this particular process. Now you can see that it is going to create a table. Now you can see that it has already inserted into it, because the table is already exist. The table is already exists and it has exited. You can see that it has got exited from the particular program. Now I will get back and I will just show you that if it is inserted or not. Yes, you can see that it has got inserted. So now you can see ID has been created, auto generated is there. You are having 266 address 1 xyz and 1 RVC which has got inserted into my database. So this is the total process for doing the inserting into the database. Now this is session where you are going to create. So you are going to have what do you say, steps for doing that. First you need to configure. Next you call the configure object. Next the object is called session factory object, and after from the session factory object you are going to create a session. So every time whenever you are going to do any kind of process, you need to create a session and you have to use that particular session to be done. Okay, now you want to close the session. Yes, dot table. So I am going to call the display method. Now we will understand how do we write a query to it. Okay, how do we write a query? Now I need to use a query because I'm going to send a, I'm doing a query on the objects which is actually persistent, right? So I am going to use an query object to it, and s dot create query create query. Okay, what is that query on? So from student. You just please need to understand that we are going to, this is all legacy. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll just use a query. Query is having an particular string, which is called string. You are going to have an create query, And what is this from student. First we will understand it is from the student. From the student means you are writing an on the class, you are writing a query. Okay, so now we got a query and it has to get executed, right? So what I will do, I will use list of student. Okay, so this becomes my list of students. So I will run the query dot get result list. So this is what my result of all the particular whatever we have written, it is gonna execute. So it is information that will get displayed back onto the screen, right? So this is the total working process. So what I will do, sm dot I will just use display. So here I'm going to send the list of students. So list of the particular student. So I will use system dot out. So I will just display all the list which is actually present. Now we can see that how does it exactly replicate onto it, or it gives me all the specific information, or I can use the for loop for doing an what do you say, retrieving total process of it. Now I will just run it back. We will understand how does it exactly work. Now it is actually loading back from the database to this, and we are getting all those configurations. Now we can see that, see, you got your total list information into it. So all this particular list information is getting displayed. So it is all based on the objects, but the object is showing you in the form of toString. So this is what how the objects are exactly present inside this. So these are all how do you list it back. So you can have listing, you can also do searching on it. So this the total process we can follow it. So now I have done for insert, this is for display. Next method I will create, one is I will use public of I'll use the same process for searching. I will use student as a single object. So search int of id I will tell. So here the same process I need to follow. What is the same process is, I need to create a session query, and we are going to use the list. So here before it goes back, I will do yes dot close. Okay, the same process I will follow in here, yes dot close. So this is what it does. Okay, now we are creating a query for the creating a query from the student where what is that, based on id is equal to colon of id. So this is my query. It is looking like normal select statement, right? So now whatever the query is getting executed, I am getting my list onto it, right? It is a list, get the result list, or I can just tell that q dot get, so I don't want list, q dot get first result, or I can tell get single result. Okay, so I will use student s1 So I want to return back the particular student list, or it is going to search for the particular student and do it. Now I have given something like which is called as colon of id. What does that mean is I need to set the value to it. So how do I set the value to it? Is that query dot set value. I have to do set parameter. Okay, so id. So what is that id? Object parameter is my id, and I am going to send the value to it as an id. Now you can see, you can just understand, I'm going to set the parameter. Okay, now here the student search, in that I'm going to take the id. Based on the id I'm going to search for the result. So we have to create a query object, and next you have to create a query from the student where id is equal to id, and q dot set parameter id of that. Next, now whatever we are setting the value, it will put on to this particular thing, and next afterwards it is gonna run the query using the get single result. Okay, now what is a single result means? You are going to get single result. No, if that id is present, then I am going to get the id, otherwise I will get the null value, right? So this is what the process for search. Now here sm dot search, and in this particular id I will tell is 12. So I can use now in this search can sc dot int as next int. Next int. So here I will tell int of id which I wanted to take it. Now here I will send an id, and before this I want to give a message that enter the id for searching in the student database. Now this is what it is gonna search, but again I need to, what is it is gonna return a particular object, right? It is gonna return an object. So what I will do, student of s, I will take it as into as a single object. Now again I will check if s dot so I need to know that if it is null or present, it is null or not. If it is not equal to null, I will tell that you can just print that result found. So you can tell student info. So I will tell yes. Here you can tell else. Just to understand that how we can do program on a particular thing, right? Okay, now I will try to run. Let me see if it runs or not. It will give me an error because I am going to use the id as 1. So it is going to create a new id, and number of particular insert is there. So it is asking me what is that you want to search. I have checked out which is number 3. So what I will do, I'll enter 3. Now Hibernate select, so it is giving me a query that how it is able to search. Now you can see that object has been found, right? The object found. So this is how I can write a simple program without writing any kind of complex queries. So whatever the query I am going to write, I am writing a query on the student object, not on the SQL statement. So I don't need to write select star from student, nothing like that. So I can write from student class. So immediately this query is getting converted to an, what do you say, object query, and from the object query on that particular result list we are going to get all the particular objects which is actually present with for the as in collection format. From the collection format we are going to use this particular student list information. Okay, so this is about display and this is about the searching in respect to the database. I hope so you have understood how do we implement the Hibernate. So the first process is you need to create a bean class, and afterwards you need to create CFG and HBM, and after that you can start accessing it using the student underscore name. So this is the total process for creating a particular student bean information. And for your particular lab program, what you have to do is you need to create an method-driven program for each and every step, and also you need to show that the CRUD operations, how does it go. You can also delete the particular step. This is regarding the Hibernate.